In this video, we're going to be looking at being mindful of our emotions. So oftentimes it can be tempting for us to ignore our emotions when they become overwhelming, but emotions like to be heard. If we don't listen to them, they get louder and louder. So we need to do something to acknowledge what we're experiencing. So being mindful of our emotions helps us to get to know them a little bit better, and then it helps us to label what it is that we're experiencing or to give the emotion a name. So some people feel emotions very intensely and they get stuck in it. So they feel like they're spinning and they can't get out of the emotion. It really takes over and they just really kind of feel out of control. For other people, they try to avoid emotions altogether, and they might even engage in activities to avoid feeling the emotion or get rid of the emotion entirely. But we know that those things aren't actually helpful because, as we've already said, emotions need to be heard. They need to be acknowledged so that we can move on from them. So the goal of emotion regulation is to find the middle ground. Where's the middle ground in what I'm experiencing? So to acknowledge them and then kind of ride the wave is how we might describe that. So acknowledging that something is happening, we recognize that emotion is just an experience and it's not actually a characteristic flaw or who we are as a person. So it's just an experience, so that kind of separates it from ourselves. When we're talking about being mindful of our emotions and encouraging people to learn how to describe their emotions, one of the tools we might use is the thermometer. So asking people to identify what temperature their emotion is sitting at, or what's the intensity of that level of emotion that they're experiencing in that moment. Something else that we might tend to do is to help people name the emotion. So we encourage people to say it out loud. Saying it out loud allows our brain to kind of let go of that, and we've acknowledged it, we've put it out there, and then we can move on from it. If naming it out loud isn't possible, so we're in a space with other people, maybe it doesn't feel safe or comfortable for us to do that, we might be able to write it down, maybe we can text ourselves the emotion or a friend, doing something to be able to name the emotion again so that we can put it out there and acknowledge that it's happening. Some other things we might do are drawing a picture. So we often use this particular handout, which is called Describing Your Emotions, and it walks people through different ways that they can describe what it is that they're experiencing. So for some people, it's helpful to use different words to describe their emotion. For other people, it's helpful to use a color. Maybe it's helpful to draw a picture. So this handout really allows people to figure out what works best for them in terms of naming their emotion. So on the top of the handout, the very first piece is to draw a picture of your emotion. So how would you describe your emotion? So some people might have kind of a whirlwind of scribbles. For other people, it might be a scenery, a person, a place. So there's lots of different things that they could come up with there. Next is to describe a related action. So what is your action urge? Kind of what do you feel you want to do as a result of what it is that you're experiencing? You can describe it as a sound, so describing your emotion as a sound or as a color. Again, there's that thermometer piece of rating the intensity of the emotion. Physical sensations is really important, and we really encourage clients to try to understand what's happening for them physiologically when they're experiencing an emotion. Emotion regulation skills and DBT skills are about reconnecting the mind and the body. So this is going to be really important for people to understand what it is that their body is doing when they're experiencing a particular emotion. So we talk a lot about how those warning signs that we are experiencing as physical sensations are often missed because of that disconnect between the mind and the body. So is my heart pounding? Am I sweating? Do I feel a little bit nauseous? There's a knot in my stomach. What's happening for me physically? And then they can also describe their thoughts that are related to that particular emotion. So if they're able to identify that they're feeling angry, what are the thoughts around feeling angry? And on the back side of that, there are instructions for them to help kind of encourage them to walk through that particular handout. And if they're stuck on anything, it gives them some suggestions around what they might actually write for that particular item. And that's being mindful of our emotions.